there's going to be no recession in America.
It only took 2 days for Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to change his tune. After adamantly insisting there will be no recession, in an interview Tuesday, Lutnick says if a recession comes, it'll be worth it.
Will these policies be worth it if they lead to a recession, even a short-term recession?
These policies are the most important thing America has ever had.
So it is worth it.
It is worth it. I don't think the only reason there could possibly be a recession is because of the Biden nonsense that we had to live with.
President Donald Trump officially implemented a 25% duty on steel and aluminum on Wednesday. The European Union retaliated with tariffs on American items like motorcycles, whiskey, and blue jeans.
He wants to worry about major things for national security of America. Steel and aluminum tariffs, that's today, right? Autos coming April 2nd, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, things that America must have. So you can imagine these are the kind of tariffs we're going to make sure these things come back to America and are built in America. And then on April 2nd, he does his reciprocal tariffs.
Trump's back and forth on tariffs since taking office in January has spooked the stock market. Over the past couple of weeks, the three major indexes have all seen significant losses. But Lutnick says investors need to get with the times.
The markets are going to learn. Let the deal maker make his deals. Let the best negotiator and the best person who cares about America, let him make the deals.
Trump's tariffs are leading to more recession chatter. Goldman Sachs recently increased the odds of a recession in the next 12 months from 15% to 20%. Meanwhile, economists at JP Morgan say there's a 40% chance of recession in 2025. Morgan Stanley also upped its probability.
I do think the likelihood of a recession has risen. Pegging it to a particular probability is hard, maybe 20-25%, so maybe twice as high as you might have in any normal given year. So the probability has risen given the combination of policies, tariffs, spending cuts, immigration controls, which all tend to soften activity in the near term.
So how will all of this affect Americans? Morgan Stanley chief U.S. economist Michael Gapin took a stab at explaining it on NPR this week.
Tariffs are essentially a tax on consumption. You pay more to import that good. So the cost to the consumer ends up rising. So one of the simple tenets of economics is if you make something more expensive, you get less of it. So less trade activity tends to mean growth is a little softer. But you impose tariffs, it tends to push inflation higher in the short run. So that's the balance we're considering.
Gapin and the Trump administration may disagree that tariffs are tantamount to a tax, but both agree the U.S. is embarking on a period of transition.
Are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time.
In economics, we would say transition to a new equilibrium. It tends to mean there's a disruptive period of transition. And so you would hope the costs you pay in the short run are outweighed by the gains in the long run. But those short run costs tend to be more obvious. The gains over time, we're never quite sure if they materialize. But that is, I think, the argument they're making and why we might see some softness in the near term.
In the latest running estimate by the Atlanta Fed's GDP tracker, the economy is headed for a 2.4% contraction in the first quarter of 2025. That's a big swing from the end of January when it was pacing for 2.9% growth. Remember, a recession typically occurs when there are 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline. But the final call goes to a panel at the National Bureau of Economic Research. For more on how they make that call, search NBER Recession for this story at SAN.com and the SAN app. For SAN, I'm Simone Del Rosario.